Hi everyone and welcome to the Recruitment Brothers podcast. With an age gap of 17 years and two heavy Swedish accents, we're here to cover everything about, you guessed it right, recruitment.
And now over to the older brother Rickard. Welcome to our podcast. Although recruitment is our focus, we will also talk about sports, business development and leadership. And we will invite some inspiring guests. Let's get straight into it.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Recruitment Brothers podcast. Attempt 3 now to make this intro as special as needed because it's our 10th episode today, Rickard. Can you believe it? We're already on episode number 10.
Wow, and 2 producers as well have been included.
Exactly. Time is flying, not only in the podcast world, but also in real life. We are soon in December, actually, soon a new year. But Rickard, what has been new since our last episode together?
Wow, I was in Spain last time and I think I just jumped on a plane the day after to Suriname. So I was there for 1.5 weeks enjoying the Caribbean together with Demis.
Meeting Demis.
Yeah. Exactly. So that was fun, super fun. And then also digged a bit deeper on the executive search part. I think we have streamlined a strong strategy now. And I think what we have worked on the last years also start to pay off. We see offers coming in now on 30 and 40,000 euro fees. So It is crazy that everything we implemented a year ago now starts to show in numbers. So that is the last thing that have happened since last time.
Nice.
And you?
A lot of different things. No, it's maybe not been as eventful on or outside of work, but no, it's going really fast. It's an intense period now that we're going through. I actually noticed, speaking of roles and implementations, that we have just surpassed 100 open roles on our Worldwiders website. So that's a big milestone that we celebrated here this week. I think we started the year with around 30 roles. So it's fun to see that we have been able to grow it so quickly. But otherwise, we have a few clients of those in Barcelona that we have newly signed. We're still working on a big project with one of our key clients for enterprise sales managers. It's above 100 FTEs that we've been supporting with across not only Europe, but actually also Australia and the APAC region. So that's been really fun. And all this have resulted in actually a really good forecast for December, which is usually not the case in recruitment. I guess you know about it as well, but December is usually a really tough month. But this is looking to be one of the better, if not the best, December that at least I have experienced. That would be really nice, of course, going into Christmas holidays, New Year's, and have a good feeling and a strong pipeline, because that's something that otherwise can stress you as a recruiter. Yeah, that's also one of the things we will touch on in today's episode, where we will speak about the topic work-life balance, and maybe more from the perspective of both recruiters, but also business owners like you are, Rickard. How do you see the term work-life balance, if I ask you?
Yeah, now the unpopular opinion kicks in. No, but for me, I think I have mentioned it in the past as well. It's more about a work-life harmony style. I think the balance thing is something you should have in all aspects in life. And I don't think you should put things up against each other. I think it's more about finding the harmony in what you are doing, and also do actually what is best for yourself, what triggers you, what motivates you, what makes you the best version of yourself, and how and when are you performing the best, and what do you need to accomplish what you want to accomplish as well. And don't then measure it in hours, days, tasks, behaviors, like more, or maybe behaviors, but like find your thing and have harmony with that.
And how, for our listeners here, like it's a topic we have discussed, but how would you describe the difference between work-life balance, which is a popular term today, but work-life harmony? What would you say are the differences between those two terms, and why you prefer the work-life harmony?
If we take work-life balance, many people compare that with you work 8 to 4, and at 4 o'clock you should stop your work, and then exactly on the 4 o'clock hour you should start to have your private life, and you
Mm,
should not think about your job at all in your private life, and you should not even look at your phone or inbox of emails or texting with people about work related tasks outside of working hours. And I understand if people want to have that kind of life. I understand if you choose a job that is very connected to the hours you work. But I
mm,
think also in many professions and also in many people's situation, I think if you have harmony in what you are doing, it ends up of creating a better version of yourself, like I said, and even for an 8 to 4 worker. Because say that you are stressed about something going on in your, say that your kid have a theater, Christmas theater in the kindergarten. Isn't
mm,
it nice to not stress in the morning, feeling, for example, that I can go to that Christmas theater, start at 9 o'clock instead? I just work an extra hour tomorrow afternoon, as an example.
mm,
So you find a harmony of your private life and your work, and that you can be that flexible. So you find the balance, but more with harmony and not putting
mm,
your then kids up against your work. You can have both of them working at the same time, and more don't being stressed about things on both ends, more finding a solution on both of them
mm.
working together.
I understand what you mean, and I think it's maybe especially applicable in a work like recruitment,
Yeah.
or like in, I can imagine also in sales, where what you're working with is so performance based that it's always live, because you're always gonna have like a job offer on the table. Hopefully you always have that. You're always gonna have a candidate in final stage, or a candidate who is texting you at 8 o'clock because they're nervous before their last final interview tomorrow, and you need to give them some final encouragement. And so I think recruitment can especially be one of those professions that overlaps with your private life, for the good and the bad. Like you said, like maybe you won't get these messages from your candidates at 9, 10 o'clock, because your candidates are then doing their own thing and they're working, and you can go to enjoy your kids' theater performance at kindergarten. But then that you're maybe more looking into the outcome and the performance of your work rather than the specific hours.
Yeah, and I think, for example, if you take in recruitment, yeah, but it's nice to know that, of course, like again, in all works, and it shouldn't be that you need to work extra hours to reach
Mm,
your targets. You should be able to reach them within the hours that is in your contract. I fully agree on that with most of the jobs. It is like this, or all jobs, right? But hand on your heart, and I can say it for myself, like if I want to take a longer lunch, if I need to go to the dentist during working hours, if I take a
mm,
private call with family member, or I call my girlfriend to discuss the dinner today, or
mm,
I take a private call for the national bandy team. I do that during working hours. Everyone
mm,
is taking a 5, 10 minute, 30 minute here and there from their working hours as well. And if you are then able to put in 5, 10 minutes before the day starts, that if you text me a question and I'm on my way to work, I can answer it. It's not a problem. But I'm also calling my dad at 11 o'clock today. So that answer to
mm.
you at 8:15 also compensates a bit for the call I'm doing 11 o'clock with my father. Like I don't
Yeah.
need to don't need to calculate. It's more about having a good conscience of what you're doing. I think that for me, especially in recruitment, is important because we work with humans. The service we are delivering is recruitment, meaning that we are helping a person from one place to get a job some other place, and we're helping a company to find talent that fits a job they need to fill. So
Mm,
someone will maybe text or call you. They are maybe getting cold feet. They want to negotiate their salary. They are maybe missing information. And if they don't get it, they cannot resign from their
yeah.
current job. And the same, the client maybe ask you, okay, Martin, Ricard, give me the feedback, or what is the next step? Or have you heard anything from the candidate yet?
Mm,
And they are maybe in the urgency also to answer a manager so they can proceed, because maybe they have
yeah.
other candidates as well on the line. So
Exactly.
you need to
Exactly.
have a progress.
Exactly. I think recruitment is so momentum based. Everything is about the momentum, like to make sure that everything goes smoothly, because 1, 2 hours here and there, whilst you might not think that it's the end of the world for the candidates, but the candidates can do a complete 180 and change their mind in 1-2 hours because you haven't replied and because they have started to get those cold feet because no one has reached out to them and explained a certain thing in the work contract, for example. I think recruitment is so much about being able to be there for the good and the bad. Like there's so many stories I hear when working with my team of like the at the oddest moments and the oddest places they are receiving like messages or calls from their candidates. It can be the middle of the night when the candidates have arrived to the airport in Greece, for example, and stuff like this. So it's fun to think about. Of course, you shouldn't be expected to take a phone call in the middle of the night. That's not what I'm here to say, but I'm saying that candidates, the people that we're helping and the people that we're serving, they are not stuck to the 9 to 5 schedule. Their job process, it's like a new job. It's such a big part of their life. So their engagement and involvement in the process, that's on 24/7. So that's something you can notice. Do you have any like examples of moments, like critical moments in weird places or at weird times that you can think of?
Yeah, I have a few, but I would also want to say, for example, that just to answer a bit on what you said there, I think that why they contact you when they arrive to, for example, Madrid on their first day entering a new city, a new job and everything, it's because they trust you. You have been their career advisor here and the one helped them to get a job. So you should almost see that as a privilege that they contacted you because they trust you, Martin. That's why they do it. And of
Yeah.
course, it's not fun to get at 5 o'clock in the night when you're sleeping. Like, of course, there can be a bit distance here, but at the same time, you should see it like, okay, they contact you for a reason, and it's because you
Yeah, of course.
help them there, so they have trust in you. And odd things for me, no, it's more like maybe a sad story. It's like I had a high stake placement fee on the table, and I thought that a candidate was going to take the job, and he texted me on New Year's Eve that he
Oh my,
declined the offer. So, like
my
8 o'clock on New Year's Eve, it was worth like 25,000 euros fee. And he texted me, sorry, Rickard, I will not take the job, even if he said like, yes,
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, 8 o'clock on New Year's Eve. That's top 3 worst moments to receive a message like that, isn't it?
So I popped 2 bottles of champagne instead of one, just to
Exactly.
get drunk and overcome it.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
No,
fun.
but
That's fun.
if we touch on that point as well, I think the harmony thing, what I feel as well, and I have an example that maybe comes to you, Martin, you can explain more about it as well. Say, for example, that you have the flexibility to work remote, like, for example, from home, or you can go to your home country because you are based in Barcelona, but you can work a week from Sweden if you want to meet your family and you have the trust to do that. So you get the harmony of like you feel flexibility in your job. And also, I know you went 1 month on a workation in Thailand in a different time zone, also big trust. And that is a kind of a harmony that compensates in this life balance, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's something that I enjoy to do from time to time. I remember this specific month that I spent in Thailand. It was also one of the best periods that I had recruitment wise for this year because I found a really, really good harmony. I took the first 1-2 weeks holiday and then I worked from there. But I remember I had a really nice structure to my daily life because I think we were like 6 or 8 hours ahead of Europe. So I remember I woke up, I had a slow morning, good breakfast, went to take a Thai massage every day. I varied the type of massage. They would be foot massage, head massage, sport massage. I kind of had a rotation on it. I trained some Thai boxing, ate a good lunch, and then by 1-2 o'clock I was ready to get started because Europe started to waking up. And then I could fully concentrate also because I was sitting there remotely, could focus on my thing. All these small disruptions and distractions weren't there. So it was a really good time, I noticed, and something I would love to try again. But what I also, I think, noticed during these weeks that I was working in Thailand, and it also has to do with work-life balance. But for example, for me, 2 weeks working completely remote, that was the absolute limit I could do. And I noticed that as well today, that, and I think it has to do, of course, with COVID and when the pandemic was here and we started to work, sometimes people couldn't even go to work, so they had to work remotely, and then that kind of trend stuck with us, right? That some people do a couple of days from the office, a couple of days from home, like I believe you do as well, which I think is a optimal solution. At least it would be for me. So you can have both the feeling that you go to a place and you feel belongment to your workplace, and you can kind of separate your home from the workplace. And then you can enjoy those days from home as well, where you maybe have intense days with a lot of calls and you really need to, lock in and get work done. But what I noticed from these 2 weeks is that part I mentioned about separating work from life becomes really, really tough. And I think that's even in some cases counterproductive to work-life balance, to work remotely. I think people are speaking about it like that's the whole solution to work-life balance, but a fully remote job, I think it can be very dangerous, I think, to
Yeah.
just sleep, eat, take a shower, and work in the same place constantly. And you never get that separation because you never know when to turn off your computer. You get maybe distracted at home and you start doing some laundry. And soon enough, everything is just melted together into one like blur. You don't have balance or you don't have harmony. You just have everything into one working from home. That's at least one thing I noticed from just 2 weeks. And I cannot imagine how it would be like doing it full time. Of course, maybe there are, people who can do it really well. Maybe they have a separated room with a separated office at home. But, to sit there on the dinner table and to work, I could never do that for more than 2 weeks myself, at least.
Well, exactly. And I think, like, of course, each person choose their own solutions and maybe what's working best for them. But it's still like back to this, like you said now, okay, but find a harmony with the solution you have. But saying that one solution is the only way and kind of looking back in the old way of doing things as something negative, I think that is, I'm going to swear for the first time in the pod here, but that is bullshit. Because if it have worked for hundreds and hundreds of years, I'm not saying that just because of that we need to do everything exactly the same, but now we have the flexibility to choose, at least in many office jobs. Of course, if you are working as a delivery guy or you are working in a food store or you are a chef, you need to be at work every day. You cannot have a home office or remote job doing those kind of things. So it's impossible. But like an office job today, you have a lot of flexibility, and that creates for me a good work-life harmony. Yeah, so I think that is important. And also, like, if we look into what is harmony for some people as well, like if we look, for example, on performance, we can take that as an example now, if we are jumping here a bit over to something else. But say that my harmony is work, say that my hobby is work. Why should that be seen as something bad? Why should a person that wants to work more, either for career growth or earning more money or just having it as a hobby? Because, like, for example, myself, I reflect a lot after working hours. So when I'm done today, I will reflect after dinner, and then maybe some ideas pops up. So it's my prime to be creative. Why should that be seen as something negative if I'm reflecting and come up with the best ideas and actually work after dinner? Or, for example, that I do, I don't know, sourcing 1 hour on Sundays. So I have built a pipeline for next week so I can be very efficient on recruitment to get my numbers in, to double my budget and double my commission and double my salary. Why should that be a negative thing if I want to do it myself?
Yeah, of course, of course. I think I get what you mean, and I think we are quite like similar there. That we have work as the hobby. That's what we're good at in life. It's not to sing, it's not to paint, it's not to we are performance-driven people who like to perform and work and get stuff done. But I think also it has a little bit to do with maybe the culture, also where we're coming from, the Nordics. It's not really acceptable thing, or like, of course it's acceptable to work hard, but to put down those extra hours and be proud that you want to make a career or want to make good money, that is almost a little bit of a taboo, or it's seen as you're trying too hard. Who are you trying to be?
Jantelagen.
Yeah, exactly. We have this law in Sweden called jantelagen, that everyone should be the same. Everyone should follow the same behavioral and cultural codes. No one should do something that can seem that you're trying to be something. You should try to, fit in That's why we have systems, of course, that work. So it's to the benefit as well that we have queues, we are on time, we are, quite neutral in conflicts. But at the same time, it's the downside is what we're discussing now, that you can't be something extra, because that extra is seen as something ugly, something you shouldn't strive for. And I think that can also have to do with what you described about working extra hours to break a record in the company, or coming in 2 hours early on the morning to achieve your next step in your career. That's seen as something you're trying too hard. Basically, you're trying to be something extra and something ugly. So I think it can also have something to do with culture.
Yeah, yeah, it can. And I think that it's a shame, to be honest. I think it's sad because we can switch it to something positive here. Look at sports stars, musicians, actors. Do we really think that, for example, Haaland in Manchester City, the football player, do we think that he practiced 3 times per week, 1 hour without stretching, no food prep, going out and drinking in the weekends, and scoring like more goals than games in Premier League? No, of course not. And now he is taking Norway to the World Cup. Did it come by accident? No, of course not. That guy, he eats, sleeps, train, and repeat. He do stretching, yoga, ice baths. He do
Red light
preseason
therapy.
yeah, everything. He is so focused on the goal of becoming the best goal scorer in the world, and he earns £400,000 per week. So
Mm,
he earns like a 10-year contract now with City that is worth billions. So he is looked at as a superstar, almost like a god. People endorse him, and they follow him on
mm,
Instagram, and now we have a YouTube channel. But he is a star. But if you
mm,
do the same in business, you should almost be ashamed. Then
yeah.
it's bad to earn money or being successful, or and I
Mm,
think this is wrong. And I think this
yeah.
is completely wrong. And the same an actor that becomes famous, do you think that they just practice twice and then ending up being the best actor in the world? Of course not. They repeat all what they are going to
Mm,
say, how they're going to act. They go into the role. Look at some of the actors when they play roles. They lost 20 kilos like in one role. Next time they
mm,
are a bodybuilder, they gain 20 kilos, or they cut their hair for a role, and they
mm.
really adapt to the personality they are going to be. They change their voice
Yeah, yeah,
to
absolutely.
be that person.
They definitely have that harmony, because otherwise it's not possible. You cannot lose weight during working hours, and then at 4 o'clock you're like, nope, now I'm not an actor anymore. Now I can do what I want. So you got a point, absolutely. That somehow the very top in culture and sports is allowed to give it everything, but giving that something extra in business is seen as ugly, or at least here in Europe. I can imagine, and I've seen tendencies of that it is a bit different. For example, if you look at Asia, there is more like maybe the opposite way, that, and maybe to the extreme part, that you work, way too much, and it's ugly to have breaks. That's kind
Yeah.
of the other side of the coin. I don't know how it is in US and Latin America, for example, but in Asia, now at least they have this. What is it called? It's something like 10-6 module. That's they work 10 hours per day, 6 days a week. That's kind of the normal. It's called something like this that I've read about.
Yeah, and also that you shouldn't leave the office until your boss leaves or something. So people just
Yeah.
sit there and wait until the boss leaves so you can go, kind of. They are just sitting there. But the thing is, of course, but imagine that on the level we are on democracy, and with the nice kind of employment labor laws we have in Europe and in the Nordics, to continue with this kind of freedom and this harmony that we have, but
Mm.
still then being able to decide of how we plan our future and career or whatever it is, without feeling shame if you're
Yeah.
performing, but not feeling stressed if you're happy with your 8 to 4, earning your average salary and having a decent life. I think it should be okay to do both, and I don't think
Mm.
that you should put things up against each other to find your harmony. I think you should
Yeah.
try to find a way of them working together.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not
6, it was called, by the way. China. 9 in the morning to 9 in the evening, 6 days a week. So it's 12 hours, 6 days a week. That's wild.
yeah, but that wouldn't be a harmony for me. That would be a penalty, like a
Yeah.
prison for
Yeah.
example. So I wouldn't like that at all. So I would, if I could, but I know it's not maybe possible for the Chinese people, but I wouldn't stay, you know, and
No.
if that would be Sweden, then I would move somewhere else if I would be
Yeah.
forced to do that.
Exactly.
It's interesting topic. I think also people have different opinions, of course.
Yeah, and I think the opinions are also so subjective to each and every one, like what they think, you know. But I think also what you say, that what we should be careful with is to put things in black and white and say that this is work life balance, this is work life balance for everyone, and this is someone who is overworking. It's so different from different people, how much workload you can handle, how motivated you are. If you see work as we do, as a hobby or a passion, or if you just see it as something to put the bread on the table. So it's so many, you know, factors played in. So I'm not saying that we have the recipe and the right answer, because there is no right answer. It's like so subjective to people.
And also, like, if we would turn it around and say that we would talk about private life balance or private life
Mm,
harmony, say that you are stressed because you do some construction and renovation at home, you are in a relationship breakup, you maybe have some sickness in the family, or you just feel bad about yourself, you're aging, I
mm,
don't know, and you feel depressed. And imagine, you know, bringing all that to work as well, for example, and not having the harmony in the same way that you can have bad working days, that you, because you are always
yeah.
allowed kind of to bring that part of your life over to work. So why
Mm,
can you not bring work over to your private life in some situations? That is what I mean. Like,
mm,
it is a full life we are living. So, like, and
mm.
also the third thing that is important in this harmony for me, it's sleeping.
Yeah.
I need
No,
to sleep.
absolutely. 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 I noticed that as well. Like it affects so much, like sleep, physical activity, that you don't drink alcohol, all of these things that, let's say, a typical sports person would prioritize. We should also prioritize if you want to be the best in business. It all has an effect if you sleep 5 hours per night or if you sleep 8 hours per night. Try to put in the 8 hours consistently. You will feel so much better at work, you know, so much more energy, so much more focused. So it's definitely true.
That will pay off on the private, because then you will be a happier person on the side
Yeah,
of
of
the
course.
job. You will have great weekends, you will have great friends, you will also have, you will see your job as something positive, so it's a part of your life, and you know, you can enjoy it more with the people you work with, and you can, whatever
Mm,
the job is, you can still do something with it in a way.
exactly. Exactly. And I think also that if you can't find that work life harmony or balance, it's maybe worth to ask yourself if what you're doing is what you want to be doing or what you should be doing, honestly. And I know everyone doesn't have the luxury to do this. Maybe you live in a city that is less job opportunities and the job market is tough, and maybe you have settled down, so you have a lot of things that you're responsible for, and you cannot just switch industry or career progression just like that. But it's something worth to think about, that okay, if I can't find that balance between work and life at this point, is it really the best what I'm is it really what I'm doing? Because I can tell you one thing, and it's like Erling Haaland, like you brought up, he doesn't see football as a work and have anxiety to go to football training on Monday. Absolutely not. He has found like his passion in life, and it's all blended together today.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he also run businesses outside of football on top. Of course, he have advisors and people doing it, but he is involved in other stuff. And he have also become a father. And you know, he travels
Mm,
for the national team, and he is in sponsor campaigns, and he let this,
mm.
you know, fans take photos. So he's a very active guy. So it's not only training, eating, resting either. He have a very like tight schedule on top.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, Rikard, now when it comes to you, I mean, you have a lot going on. You are not only, you know, managing the business and being a business owner, but also with the national team and traveling frequently and a lot of different things going on. But how do you manage the relationship between work and life? Like, how do you find those moments to gain energy, to gain some time to reflect, and so you basically don't crash? How do you manage that?
I think it's a combination of, say, two, three things. So, one, for example, is that if you always have a new target at work, for example, it helps you to focus on what you're going to do next day, as an example. So you don't feel so much, because you know that your target or goal is maybe career driven, money driven, or it can be a project you want to finalize. So that is one
Yeah.
thing, that you have something every day. But if you take on the private side, how I mix it in with the work, I learned like already 15 years ago that I need to have a trip booked every quarter as a motivation for performance or for
Mm.
rest. So it can be a long weekend, say for example that I would go to Gothenburg now, for example. That is not far away from Oslo where I live. It's 3 hours drive, and they have a Christmas market at Liseberg, that is a
Mm.
theme park. So, for example, going there, living 2 nights at the hotel breakfast, dinner with my girlfriend, Christmas
Mm.
theme park and everything, and maybe some Christmas shopping. If I have that to look forward to already in October, then
Mm.
I know that that comes. And when I have that experience, I kind of recharge with new motivation and
Mm.
energy. And if I, on top of that, knows that next Friday we have a Christmas table at work, then I have a short time motivation that comes in 2 weeks, and I know that my weekend trip comes in end of December to Gothenburg, for
Yeah.
example. And when that is over, I set up the next one. That will be a longer
Mm.
one, 2 weeks in Thailand in March. So then
Yeah.
I start in January and know that in 9, 10 weeks now, I go to Thailand. So then I can count
Exactly.
down, and I have that as a motivation.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with this thing. I think it's something that you taught me to always have something in the pipeline to look forward to. And yeah, most often trips, to change environment, but it doesn't need to be, like you say, a trip to the other side of the world to climb a mountain. It can be something, like you said, to go to a nearby city, take 2 hotel nights. It can even be like, it doesn't even need to be connected to a trip. It could be, for example, in January, I'm booking myself in for Spanish lessons. Then I know that, in January, I have something new to look forward to and something that will keep me going. Even let's say that we have a hectic period now and a lot of work. So I completely agree with that. I think last year it really helped to have that 1 month Thailand trip booked, and I mean, really, really helped, because that was something really big to look forward to. Going there with my friends, knowing that I will be there for a full month, combination with both holiday and work, that kept me going throughout the winter. And yeah, it was really, really good. But of course, maybe that's not realistic every year, if it is because of economics or if it's because of the work situation. But yeah, this year, for example, I instead have some smaller things planned. So I know that we will go with the team to Malaga here in a couple of weeks' time. So we look forward to that. I know that Christmas is coming, going back to Sweden. Finland trip planned in January. So there's small nuggets to look forward to now as well, which helps to get me going as well. So completely agree.
And those small distractions, like you said, I know, for example, like you said about Spanish lesson, then that will remove some focus maybe from work, because then you're reflecting a bit how
Yeah.
you learn Spanish and you start to practice it more outside.
Mm.
I know also that you are planning to run a marathon, right?
Yep. No, exactly. It has been loose plans, but now if I say it out loud in the podcast, I need to do it. So yes, we are gonna run a marathon in March. So of course that becomes something to look forward to, a goal that's not connected to work to strive for, and then it becomes like I can picture it like how it's been for you all these years with having Bundy on the side, both as a player and as a coach. But it becomes like a parallel life that you can completely disconnect with in a positive way, so you completely recharge.
Yeah, and say that you then plan to have like a running team, or
Yeah.
a group of friends that decide, okay, 5 o'clock Tuesday, Thursday, we do put on the training clothes and we do some running to prep for the marathon. Then you put
Mm.
in new behaviors 2 days per week, and it's bam on the minute when the workday ends, on the contract, and that gives you harmony and makes you
Exactly.
feel good, and you can disconnect, and you decide if you want to pick up the computer or phone later, or you just
Mm.
have it off and you start your day tomorrow at 8:30. Like, it will be your choice, and that is the nice thing to decide when
Mm.
you have things to also look forward to, and that puts in
Mm.
that balance, and in my world, that harmony.
100%. 100%. For me, that would be one of the most important things, to plan things outside of work. whether it's a trip or if it is to run or to go to the city to do something, but to always, not every day, but on a weekly basis, have things planned outside of work. I think the periods that has been the most tough for me is when I don't have the plans. I come home, I cook my food, I crash on the couch, watch some Netflix, and yeah, my generation call it brain rot. Like you're not really disconnecting. It's very easy there and then in the moment to get stuck on a series on Netflix and just get carried away, but the next morning you wake up, your brain is completely foggy because you haven't really disconnected. You have just like distracted yourself for 3 hours the night before watching something stupid, you know? So that's something I really learned, to force myself to always have things planned. If there's a weekend and there's nothing planned, okay, but plan to clean the apartment. That will be my goal for the weekend. Plan to do some Christmas decoration shopping, for example. And then on Sunday, okay, I have some friends who are up for going for a brunch. Okay, but then I have 3 things that I can look forward to. So I'll know already on Friday when I'm finalizing work. Maybe it's a hectic work day. Oh, but I have these 3 things that I will accomplish in the weekend that is not connected to work. So that's kind of how I cope with it as well.
And maybe now it sounds for all the listeners that we are super hyped and we do something all the time. Of course not. Like we are also in a situation that we need to rest. There is many nights and evenings here where it's just Netflix series and maybe a slow cooked meat or like chicken made in the what is called the not the oven, what is it
Yeah, the
called,
air fryer. Yeah.
the air fryer. Of course some lazy days, and like you maybe have a lazy Saturday, and I even plan to have my introvert weekends where I
Mm,
want to buy a pizza, eat candy, and just watch 2 movies and
mm,
being lazy as f.
yeah.
and
But
and I
even that's a
plan for
plan.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Even that's a plan. So you have something to look forward to, even if it's lazy or active. It's more about having something to look forward to, I think.
Yeah, exactly. No, so that is smart, I think, tips and tricks for the balance part. Because I think when people feel stressed that they need to do something outside of work all the time or please some other people outside of work all
Mm,
the time, it's a stress moment. And that stress also applies over to work. And then you
yeah.
burn out and you hit the wall and then everything is shit. And it takes a long time, I think, for people to get back into, yeah,
Mm,
but good mental health again after a crash like that. So, like finding the harmony so you feel
yeah.
good.
Absolutely. And I think also what I notice is that, like you spoke about introverted weekends. Yeah, but if you think about it, our work is so extroverted, like your batteries, they're completely doomed out some days because you've been speaking to people from 7:30 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon. And it can be internal colleagues, it can be clients, it can be candidates. You're speaking to both people you know and foreigners, so that when you come home you just want to be by yourself and chill. And that's something to not be ashamed of either.
And I think a beauty in life, if you can learn to be in good company with yourself, you are in a good spot in life.
Yeah.
That is something I
No,
have learned as
absolutely.
well. If you can be good being only with yourself, even if you have a partner or a lot of friends or being in a sports team, but if you learn that part that you enjoy hanging out with yourself, if you know what I
Mm.
mean,
Yeah, yeah,
then you are in a good spot as well.
yeah. No, but that's what we have power walks for, isn't it?
Exactly.
Disconnect for a bit. No, and then just one thing to add on that part, and I'm not saying that this works for everyone, but it does for me at least. And it's not to see that if you are experiencing a tough period and you feel like you are overworked, for example. Previously, I've always thought that it has to do with the amount of time that you put into work. Like, okay, the more hours I work, the more I'm going to be stressed and the more I'm going to feel smashed in the head, basically. But what I've also noticed is that for me, at least, it has more to do with control because I'm a control freak. So for me, it has more to do with control rather than with the time I spend. So, for example, I can spend 30 hours one week, but if I don't have control of what I'm doing, I'm going to feel stressed. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. But at the same time, I can work 45 hours in a week. I put 1 hour on a Sunday and I use this hour on the Sunday to plan for next week, answer unanswered emails that I'm otherwise going to stress about, and to create like a plan for next week so I know what I'm gonna do to gain back that control. Because then I come in on Monday, yes, I have worked 6 hours more than I have to, but I feel control and I feel less overwhelmed than if I would have, just stuck with my 40 hours. So that's also something to think about, that time doesn't always reflect on how stressed you feel or how overwhelmed you feel. It sometimes, and most often for me at least, it has to do with control. Do I know what I'm doing? Do I feel like I am on top of things, or do I have 15 things that are urgent but I haven't been able to do? But to take 3 hours then in a weekend to get rid of those things, it will give me way more peace of mind that weekend than if I would have just put the lid on and just been like, nope, I take this on Monday. I would have been stressed that weekend. So that's kind of one thing I've noticed as well.
Yeah. I think also those extra hours especially happens when you are in a good mood, when you are in a good flow, or when you have good things going on. Then you're eager to do it and you plan and you come up with creative ideas, and your creative brain puts you in a situation where you work more or you have a new exciting project, so you don't think about the time you spend hours on it, that kind of push you into, like you said, almost overtime work, if you know what I mean. But if
Yeah.
you have a really shitty time at work, you just want to leave at 5 o'clock because you also want to be done with the day. So I think that this extra
Yeah.
happens when your passion and hobby actually accelerates with something
Yep.
exciting and new or positive.
Absolutely.
And that pays off in the end. 9 of 10 times you see the result and it pays off in many ways.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Do you have any final tips for our listeners?
Oh, I think I have touched on it, and I think you should walk your own way. We shouldn't like listen to what other people are telling us,
Yep.
if it's more to hold us down or hold us back or giving us a bad conscience. I think we should go with what we feel is the right for ourselves, and finding a method and a setup that works for you. And I have found mine, and I'm super happy with that, and I'm never going to be shamed. And then people think, oh, he travels a lot and he have a luxury life. Yeah, but I have also planned and worked hard to get there in a way. And I work hard at 3 months so I can go to Thailand, and that is my choice.
Beautiful. It's been a great topic. Time has been flying like it does when you're passionate about things. So thank you to all the listeners as well for listening and for staying loyal here. If you have any tips or ideas or want to share how you balance your work-life harmony, then we would love to hear them. Please share them with us by email or by LinkedIn. And hopefully we have also been able to not give people what's right or wrong in this episode, but more, like you said, a perspective to find things that are right for you. So hope to see you all in the next episode. And thank you for this one.
Thank you,
Have a
guys.
good one. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.